Productions.
Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. Jason here, and today I have a preview playthrough for Block by Block 3rd Edition. But this is something of a unique playthrough here on the One Stop Co-op Shop. You notice I have a little bit of a shadow on my side, so I'm going to introduce my guest at this time who is going to talk us through this playthrough for this cooperative adventure where we are playing rebels that are resisting the Popo right down here. But I'm going to let this man tell you about his game. He is the designer and set us up for the playthrough. So let me please introduce Greg Loring-Albright. Welcome to the playthrough.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me. I'm the co-designer of Bloc by Bloc Uprising, the 3rd edition of Bloc by Bloc, along with T.L. Simons, who co-designed the 1st edition with someone else and did the 2nd edition on their own. And now I'm on board for Uprising, the 3rd edition of Bloc by Bloc.
All right. Tell us, break it down a little bit about what the people will be seeing on this playthrough.
Totally. So Bloc by Bloc is a cooperative, and there's a semi-cooperative mode as well that ships in the base game. Today we're doing the cooperative as a solo game. The solo is just like a two-hander, a term that I learned from the excellent Liz Davidson Beyond Solitaire. You play two factions. There are 4 possible factions.
You got 2 factions right here. You got the prisoners and the workers that we're going to be playing with today.
Yep, so you can play with up to 4. The semi-co-op only runs at 3 and 4 player. The co-op runs 1, 2, 3, or 4 player. But yeah, today Jason's going to be doing the solo cooperative mode. And it's a dice placement action selection game. It plays out on this randomized 5x5 grid of tiles, and that's the game. You're gonna see more of it. Actually, I see a relic of what we were talking about before we started recording, which is that there's still an occupation in the closet that I think needs to come off. That's right. Perfect.
There you go. So yeah, this is the basic setup. You'll see this as the basic setup in the rulebook. We're gonna play through, do a full playthrough, and ask questions. I have a lot of questions. If anybody knows Jason, you know that I am very much into this, resistance and uprising and power to people and all that kind of thing. So I'm very eager to get into this. So are we ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's get into it. We are going to start our playthrough, and we're going to explain rules as we go. Once we finish 1 or 2 turns, we'll basically have most of the action that we can do, right, Greg?
That's right. Yep, you can usually figure out this game in 1 round or 2, depending on how soon you get into it with the police, which is usually the last thing to teach.
Oh, the police, there they are. They're right down there. We got our van. We have our squads. And they are going to be, we have what are the individuals and what are the groups called for police?
They're just called groups of squads. We don't have a term.
Squad. Okay, so
Theo and I spent a lot of time on a call trying to figure out, is there a better word, a battalion, and ultimately we just said groups of squads. So.
So here's a squad, and here is a group of squads. I wonder what a group of police are called. So you know how a group of skunks is like a surfeit of skunks?
Right, a murder of crows, etc.
A murder of crows. We don't want to go too far into the anti-propaganda. So
there you go.
Just the game, people. Anyway,
right.
So we're gonna draw from the enemy deck, right there. And every co-op has an enemy deck, and this is how you not only construct resistance, but you also modulate difficulty here, because you could add greater and lesser cards. You can make it really easy, really hard. So we're going to draw 1 card, and that is the strategic rotation. All groups of police squads reduced down to 5 max per district. Extra squads return to the staging area. So nothing happens. Greg, this feels like a balancing card in terms of design. Is that the kind of thing that this card does?
Yeah, that's right. The police deck is a sort of cardboard AI, and that card, if the police all clump up in one spot, that card will help them rebalance and start responding to you more effectively.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so then as Greg explained in the intro, this is a dice action placement system, so we're going to go ahead and roll, and we're going to put those right there. and we have 6, 2, and 1, and that's going to determine the kind of actions that we can take. Low is bad, but we can always do things.
Yep.
You can always do something. So then movement. In a game like this, you're going to want to prioritize movement. Here are the blocks, individual blocks of protesters. Actually, I'm going to start at the very beginning of the turn. These are the faction starts, and they recruit. You have to recruit in this game if you want to do anything. Power to the people. Okay, so then we use 1 die to move. Now, one of the goals of the game is to what they call liberate districts. So then liberating districts, how does that work, Greg?
Yeah, so all the advanced actions and the difficult stuff in the game runs on that big number you see in the center of the tile. So that's called the district difficulty. And to take an advanced or attack action, you need a die equal to or greater than that value. But for liberation, you need twice that many blocks in that district. So like your faction starts here are in 6s.
Yep.
That's the hardest district in the city. You need 12 blocks there to liberate.
Mm-hmm.
That can be from either faction, though. You can team up and usually have to team up. But even if you teamed up right now, your movement's still small. So you would only have 8. You can't liberate that 6 right now. You need to build more strength. So that's the one. The one criteria you need is twice the district difficulty in blocks.
Mm-hmm.
The other criteria you need is no police in the district. And the third criteria you need, and this is a new one for the new edition, you need to be adjacent to a liberated district, which of course raises the question, nothing's liberated right now. The whole city is repressed. How can you liberate anything? And the answer is those pink circles, those public districts. You can break that rule there. You can liberate those districts first. Mm-hmm. So once you liberate a public district, then you start spreading adjacency via liberation.
And liberation is you can turn over the block. It would actually tell you how to turn it over. So I'd actually turn it over like this because that matters. And then this would be a liberated place. It's a little bit easier to do things. It usually fulfills your victory conditions. So you want to liberate. Liberating is really, really, really good. Speaking of victory conditions, so I probably should have dealt one of these out beforehand. So then one of the conditions is to liberate the global and shipping receiving center, which happens to be here. So eventually I'm going to want to flip that. This is a little bit of an easier condition, and then there are harder conditions that come out of the deck. You need to complete 1 condition per player. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep, you've got those little square tokens with the image of the flag on them, and each player in the co-op game needs to put one of those tokens on a completed card.
So that's interesting. I know this is a playthrough, but I wanted to ask about that because it's different than the second edition. This went through a lot of iteration from second to third.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, the win conditions have changed from first edition to second edition and second edition to third edition. And with this edition, with Block by Block Uprising, we really wanted to focus on liberation. As, you know, in the earlier editions, it was an important part of the game for sure, but it wasn't how you won. Whereas now every card in that conditions deck refers to build an occupation in a certain type or types of liberated districts. So you always have to occupy, you always have to liberate to win the game. And we wanted to make the goals a little more strategic, a little more flexible. So because you have this deck now, there's not a preset. In second edition, there were a couple flexible conditions, but you always had to occupy all of your own districts. Whereas now, the deck is going to determine what you do, and you're going to have to take meetings to draw more of those cards because you only start with 1 and you have 2 factions in this game, so you're going to need at least 2, maybe more if you draw some cards that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. So we'll get to meetings in just a second. That's how you reveal more conditions here on the side. But I wanted to liberate a district early to demonstrate that, so I think that'll be okay. Smart. So then I was able to move all 4 of these with 1 die, and you could move with any die. So then I could go kind of anywhere as long as I'm not bumping into police. So I can move down here along the blocks that way. Also, if I wanted to, I could go to this area so that I can kind of go like that, and I can go to this metro station and then pop up at any other metro station. So we got one down here. So that is also a way that you can bypass the police and them blocking you, because if you run into police, you stop movement, you're occupied, and then you have to deal with it. Let's say you don't want to do that. You always have the metro station. So movement is pretty powerful, but then the cops will choke off movement. And this happens to be a pretty open board for the scenario, just for tutorial purposes. The regular game will much more likely have police kind of like cutting across. So, we're just going to do the best that we can now with the space that we have. So then we're going to take our 1. We're going to go here. And we are going to do a thing called, Greg had mentioned, building. What are these things called, Greg?
Building an occupation.
Building an occupation. Tell us about occupations, Greg.
Yeah, so, the term, of course, comes from the Occupy movement in the early 2010s. And occupations are sort of like, if you imagine a building in a worker placement game, they give you access to new and more powerful actions. And as we said earlier, they help you meet your win conditions. So it looks like Jason's building the assembly hall.
Yep.
And at the assembly hall, you spend a die of any value. So it helps smooth out your dice rolls. If you roll low, you can always use your occupations. And the assembly hall says for a die of any value, you form 1 block. So this will help you grow your movement.
All right. So then we are going to spend that die. So this 6 is actually pretty powerful. You could do many more things with it, which we'll demonstrate in a little bit. But I'm just going to use that 6 right now to recruit. And so we are going to build power. Because I also want to liberate market and get that going just early so we can demonstrate that early.
Totally. And I just want to highlight, you used your 1 to move.
Yep.
And you use your 2 to build the occupation, which normally wouldn't be allowed because you're in a 4 district and you need to meet or exceed that value. But you're using the workers, the yellow faction, and their special ability. Every faction has a sort of small asymmetry. The worker special ability is use an action die of any value when taking build or swap occupation actions. So the workers can use 1, 2, 3. They can use any die they want to build an occupation because they're good with tools.
And then the last die I'm going to use will be to recruit because I like having a lot of people. All right. So then after every turn we reset and we get another police ops card. Is that correct?
That's right. Yep. Start of everyone's turn. You got to deal with the police.
No. All right. Let's go ahead and resolve this. All right, so this is the bad one. We are going to get more cops out here. We are going to recruit a lot. And if there was a missing van, which will show you how we can kind of take out vans in a minute, we would get it back. But in this particular case, we're not going to do that. We're just going to increase the morale of the police who are alert at this point. And that will affect how many enemy cards that we draw. So then at the beginning of next round, the next first player's turn, we're going to be drawing 2 cards unless I could do something about it. And I plan to do something about it. All right, so we're going to start with Orange's turn. I jumped the gun a little bit, and I put a premature person there. But they are going to show up right now, and now they have their turn available to them. So the prisoners are the brawlers. They're the ones that can take out cops or police squads a little bit more easily. We'll show you that when that comes. But there are no independent police mod. They're just like standing next to their vans. So they're like, spoiling for a fight. Okay, so the one thing I want to do, definitely, is, I have a couple of options, right? So I could, and I could do it anywhere, right? I can build the buildings in any circle.
You have to be in your faction color or a neutral color. So like orange can't occupy a yellow district, but pink and white, the public and the state districts, anyone can occupy. So the prisoners could go occupy that number 4, that overcrowded jail. They could go after the plaza, although it's right up in the cops' faces. So yeah, you have some options, but not everywhere on the board. If I wanted to build something up. Okay. And I kind of do, right? I mean, isn't that the kind of the point of the game, is to build that kind of thing up? It's generally a good idea to build occupations. They help you, build up your engine. They help you get stuff going. Although I see you've got a goal of liberation here, so maybe that's what the prisoners want to focus on. But yeah, it's not a bad idea to build occupations. That always helps. I don't think I could do both in the same turn, can I? Get to a liberation point and build something. Let's see. You're only going to roll 3 dice. Yep. So actually, I might be able to depending on what you roll, you might be able to. Depending on what I roll, it's very exciting. So we got a 6, 6, and a 4 right there. So that's really good. So then if I wanted to, so I can move, and I'm definitely going to go ahead and liberate this market over here. Remember, you can liberate public markets without having anything adjacent. So we'll spend a 4 on that. All right, so I have 2 dice left in my turn. What I'm going to do is, because it's good to just get this stuff going, we are going to move all the way over here, and I can do that. Remember, I just got to trace the streets and make sure there's nobody in the way. And just for diversity's sake,
going to build this. Greg, tell the people what that is.
Yeah. So this is the Mutual Aid Center. This component existed in second edition, but we gave it a new name and we reworked the mechanics for
Very
Bloc
much.
Uprising.
That's definitely part of why I wanted to have you on the playthrough, because this worked a lot different. I think it's interesting design insight to see how that grew and how that's different from the second edition.
Totally. So this is a huge change. So before in second edition, it was similar to the assembly hall. At the assembly hall, you spend a die, you get a block. Here, you would spend a die, you get a loot card. We haven't talked about loot cards yet, but they're one-time bonuses. You can drop them on your turn or at various other points in the game to protect yourself from attacks, to build up strength, to change your die rolls, etc. But the Mutual Aid Center still helps you get cards. It helps you get stuff, just like mutual aid in the real world. People combine their efforts, build up power, usually via material goods, food, etc. But here, it runs on these graffiti tokens. And so when you take the loot action, which we haven't done yet, but at any of these shopping center icons, the little carts on the board, awesome. You can take a one-time bonus. You can either put it fireside down, which represents like smash and grab, and you just get one loot card, and then it's over. You've sort of built up some ill will, but you've gotten the supplies you need. Or you can put it down graffiti side up, and that does nothing for you in the moment. You get nothing when you take that action. But when you use the Mutual Aid Center, so first you put down some graffitis, and then you say, okay, I'm going to spend a die, activate that building, activate that mutual aid occupation, and you count all the graffitis on that tile or adjacent to that tile. You draw that many cards, and then you keep 2. So you don't get to keep all of them, but like that commercial, that shopping district in the corner there, that number 3, if you were to graffiti all 4 of those, and that graffiti on that green district, and that graffiti on that orange district, that would be 6 cards you'd get to look at, and then keep 2 of them. So that's potentially huge if you can build that up.
Right. So this becomes. Just to point out, it's an engine builder type of experience, where if I put graffiti, I have to spend action to do it. So it's action intensive. It's not like I could just put them down for free. But investing in that kind of action can really build up, a little tower over there of like strength and aid that I can get to make the game easier for me.
Totally. And there is a sort of shortcut to that graffiti process. If you look at the back of that shopping center district, every time there's a cart icon on a tile, when that district liberates, all those cart icons become graffiti immediately. So instead of taking 4 actions to graffiti all those shopping centers, you could send a crew in there, liberate that shopping center district, and then it would flip and you'd get 4 graffitis for the cost of liberation.
Well, look at all that graffiti. Excellent.
Totally.
All right, so we've demonstrated most of the actions. The one basic action that we did not demonstrate, because I am playing fast and loose, is the barricade. So this is how we stop Popo from spreading out all over the place. And we are going to want a barricade, especially liberated centers or places where we have important stuff. The cops have a lot of tricksy moves to get places. You think they can't get there, and all of a sudden the card says they go there. So we are going to want to set up barricades, but I'm playing fast and loose, and I'm not worrying about that for now. So we'll get to that, and when we get there, that is the end of a player turn of block by block. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the enemy turn right now, which is a little bit involved. I will let Greg do this because Greg's the pro at walking people through enemy turns. It could be a little bit crunchy.
Yeah, this is sort of the upkeep phase. This is where, if you're the person teaching this game who's read the rules, you'll kind of have to step through this with your fellow players, at least on the first round or two. Then it becomes pretty intuitive. You're going to do this every round. So this is called the sunrise phase. We the people, act in the nighttime, and then the sun comes up and the cops act to try and repress us. So the first thing that happens is we're going to resolve the reaction card. So that's that deck over there.
I didn't point this out. The reaction will determine whether the subway's open or closed, or the metro. It was closed last turn. I didn't need it, but so the next turn it'll be open. So then that'll determine your movement, so you'll be able to know that. But we're gonna flip that card, and we're gonna go through state districts. I'm gonna go ahead and read that first. Vans are repaired in police attack. That's if they are engaged, which nobody's engaged right now, so that's fine.
That's right.
Locate police van station in the lowest ID district. and then
Okay,
locate the state district with the highest police ID, move that van along the shortest path, and then deploy a squad at that area.
cool. So the first thing we do, and most of these reaction cards work this way, they move the vans. The vans don't move from the regular police deck. So they usually call on the van in the lowest numbered district. So every district has got that little number in the bottom left corner. Jason, you mind finding the lowest district? Cool.
There's the
and
lowest
then
district, number 13.
You're going to grab that van and you're going to find the highest district. So yeah, so it's right next door. So the van is going to try and drive to that district. It doesn't have a long path. It's going to drive right there. And then there can never be two vans in a district. So it will back up. So it goes right back to where it started.
Oh, wow. So good.
Yeah, right. If it had, like, let's say it had called to go to the park, that purple or that pink district up the side there, it would drive through the Interior Ministry, through the plaza, and then it would look and it would say, well, I can go through the highway or I can go through the commercial district. And you never count highways when determining the shortest path. So it would go through the highway and then end up in the park.
Got it. That's though.
That pathing is important for when you're thinking about where to build barricades. If you had occupied the park, you would look and you would say, well, I know the vans are going to come down the highway, so I would barricade that side as opposed to the side against the commercial district. But because we're playing on the easy setup, the vans are going to kind of run into each other a little more.
If there were one or two barricades and we had the squads moving, that would actually stop them. They'd kind of one per.
Yep.
And then they would get absorbed. If you are trying to block the vans, you need 3.
That's right. Yep. The vans will just roll right over a 1 or a 2 strength barricade. It needs a fully built 3 barricade to stop a van.
It would destroy the 3 barricade, but at least stop its movement so that you could deal with it on the future turn. But we don't have to worry about that. All right. So then we are just going to stay here. And then, as we said, they're going to deploy an extra cop. And that extra cop is right there. Oh, hey, wait a minute. They all had 4. So this one should have a 5th. So
that's right.
They're ready to go.
Cool.
They are behind the barricade. So that is the cop movement part of the turn. What's next?
Yeah, so the first thing you do is that reaction card. It'll attack you if if your vans are damaged, they'll fix themselves. But the next thing that happens is sort of our moment of power. We're going to liberate the districts. And so we're going to check if there are any districts that have met all 3 conditions. No cops adjacent to another liberated district or public district, and has blocks equal to twice its difficulty. And Jason's smart. He's setting up. He was ready to go from the beginning. And liberation on night 1 is always exciting. So you've got it there. You've got 8 blocks in a public district.
Whoa!
Time to liberate.
Yeah. Actually, we always be mindful of the flip. Here we go. And by the way, when you liberate, there are cards under all of these areas, and you resolve the card, and you get a little bonus before we get to the liberation.
Yeah, totally. So you're gonna, as Jason's done, you pull everything off, and you're gonna read the card. And this is new for Uprising for the 3rd edition. We've got these little narratives here. So why don't you read us the story?
Well, how did it work in the 2nd edition? You just liberated and got a thing?
There were still cards under there, but they just had a one-time bonus.
This is much more flavorful and involved. All right.
Yeah, we were so excited when we decided to implement this.
Supermarket actions, when started as a simple looting, has turned into an organized redistribution of food to all comers. Each liberating faction, and so both of the factions were there. So
that's right.
They both make the individual choice. Approach the crowd gathered around the front of the store, or bring the same idea to another neighborhood with even larger stores. Move 1 block from this district to an adjacent district without police. So then adjacent districts are not highways, are they?
They are, yeah. So your prisoner, Supermax prison there is considered adjacent because you never count the highways as a tile, essentially.
Okay. So then that would be move block. Okay, so then let's go ahead and move. The orange is going to choose the bottom, and the yellow is going to choose the top. So
nice. One of each. So A is the yellow, they're going to stay put, and B is the orange, they're going to move. And then
1 block is going to move, right?
That's correct. Yeah, they don't get to move the whole crew. They just get to move 1.
So we're going to move back, and then each faction gets a reward. So then -1 police morale, by the way. They all do this.
That's right. Every time you liberate, the police get a little more demoralized.
What are these protesters doing? Why can't this leave us alone? All right. A friendly person in a ski mask offers you a bag of goodies. Draw 1 loot card. So yellow now has some loot, which are tools. Build one occupation or one existing occupation without an action die. For the most part, the cards are either going to buff your existing die or replace it or give you an extra action without a die.
Yep.
So either way, either one is good. And then the bottom card says, when the crowd outside keeps police at bay, you fill a shopping cart with everything you need, draw 2 loot cards. What? Sometimes the choice actually matters, and you could take the lesser choice. Okay. So then we have Molotov Cocktail. That's exactly what Orange wants. More fighting ability. And then we have the Charter Bus. Build 3 barricades.
Huge.
All right. That's very huge. We're actually going to use that right now.
You have to wait till your turn to use most of the loot cards. They'll tell you at the bottom when you can use them.
Thank you. This is why, Greg, you're on the call. Because I want to prevent all the people who in the comments going, "Oh, that rule's not right. That rule's not right." None of that today.
I'm sure you do great on your own, but it is nice. This is a medium complex game, so there's a lot to keep track of. The nice thing is when you're playing fully co-op for your first time out, you're all on the same team, so no one's going to get upset if you miss a rule or two the first time through.
All right, Greg, take us through the rest of the Sunrise phase.
Yeah, totally. So once you've liberated any districts, and crucially, players get to choose the order in which they liberate districts. So sometimes you might have a district that's not adjacent and so can't be liberated, but then because you liberate another district, it becomes adjacent. So we give you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you want to chain your liberations. You can get some good combos going on. But after you liberate all the districts, the next step of Sunrise is check meeting attendance. We'll talk about the meeting during the next round. But you can't have an exciting game about social insurrection and street protests without some meetings.
Wasn't the last one? Did that have not have meetings?
Yeah, right. It didn't. This is new. We said
right.
all the organizers we know, all the people we organize with say you got to have meetings. It's very important. So we had to put it in the game. The fourth step.
So we'll get to meetings in the beginning of the next round.
The fourth step of the Sunrise, of the kind of cleanup phase, is check win conditions. So you're going to see if your conditions cards have 1 token per player on them. It's the first round, so they don't. And then the last step is check police morale and advance the countdown marker. So we lowered morale to 1 by liberating, thank goodness, because this is the clock. Once this runs out, the game ends and the military arrive to repress the city. So we have to win before that timer runs out. So we're going to move that pawn down 1 space. Awesome. And then the last thing we do is we switch first player. So we would pass the first faction marker 1 seat clockwise. Because Jason's playing single player 2 faction, it just bounces back and forth. So Orange is going to be going first in the next round.
Also important to note that on the bottom of the liberation card, the liberated public district moved the countdown marker reverse 1 space. So if you are pressed for time and you can liberate a public place, that might buy you an extra whole round to get done what you need to get done.
Yes, that's right. I forgot to mention that during our liberation. Because this is the first night, it doesn't have any effect. That happens before you move the pawn. But going forward, you can buy yourself some time by liberating the plaza or the park.
All right, on to round 2. All right, so we are here for round 2, continuing our liberation of the city. That was a little bit long, but we got through everything, and now we're going to kind of step up the pace a little bit. So then Orange is going to go. And we are going to, well, first of all, Orange is going to continue to recruit. You got to have people. The people's right there. And we are going to roll. Now that we have 5 blocks, we haven't lost anybody, we can roll an extra die.
But first you got to draw your police card.
Oh, you're right. No, wait, I was so excited.
Everybody, this is something that we've seen in testing, especially people who've played 2nd edition and 1st edition, where you used to draw police at the end of your turn. Everybody wants to take their turn, but you gotta draw the police first. It's better for you as a player because you get to see what they're up to before you act.
So then you actually did that as an intentional design choice. You put the enemy phase at the beginning of the turn. That was another change.
Some of the feedback we were getting was that people like the tactical play, but it was a little bit random. You would take your whole turn, and then the police would act, and you wouldn't have a moment to react to them. And so we put the police ops card to the front of your turn so that everybody gets to see what the cops are going to do and then decide how to react against it.
All right, so let's go ahead and pull a police ops card. I was able to do good with liberation, so it's still low morale, 1 card, light reinforcements. They're not moving. +1 police morale. All police vans deploy 1 police squad. So I'm in trouble. I don't know. I might not be in trouble. You tell me.
Once they start moving, they're going to be a problem, but they're
They're
not a
going to
problem
be.
yet.
And I already got that card to disperse the 5 group. So they're
That's
going to
right.
stay as a massive group.
Uh-huh.
We'll see what happens. So it's going to be very important to fortify what I'm doing. All right, it is Orange's turn, and we are now going to do the Orange action of building 3 barricades. Knowing the geometry of how the police work is very important because they are going to follow distinct random paths and the likely scenarios that they're going to move through the Supermax prison because they can't move through this highway over here because it would just veer them off that way. So then what we're going to do is we are going to build barricades right from the bottom to block them off right there. Boom. There you go. So then that is going to block them off. So then that's a card. I don't even need to have roll to do that. That was just
right. Using that charter bus.
Now we are going to roll, and we got some dice right there. That I'm not going to actually do anything in the area like fight or build or anything like that. So like this is fine. Could have rolled basically anything. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to take 2 of these, spend 1 die, and we are going to attend a meeting. Go ahead and explain meetings, Mr. Organizer Man.
Yeah. So the meetings are how you draw more conditions cards. You always start with 1 conditions card face up, but you need to complete 1 per faction. And you take an action. It's at the bottom of your player aid. It says attend a meeting, die of any value, and it's essentially a movement. For rules lawyer reasons, due to some edge cases we found, we don't call it a movement action, but it's very similar to a movement action. You pick up any number of blocks from 1 tile, you take them off the board, and you put them on that deck. They're in a meeting, they're chatting with one another, figuring out strategy, and then during sunrise, that end of round phase we step through, you're going to check and make sure that you have a number of blocks equal to or greater than the number of face-up conditions cards. So right now it's easy. You only need 1 because you only have 1 face-up card. As you draw more, it gets harder. You have to think more about pivoting your strategy because you have more strategy options available. So as the game goes on, you'll need bigger and bigger meetings to draw more cards.
So then you can draw multiple goals in 1 meeting?
That's right, yeah. So if you have 3, right now, if you have 3 blocks on the deck at sunrise, you'll get to draw 2 cards because you say, okay, there's 1 card face up, I remove 1 block, I draw a new card. There's 2 cards face up, I still have 2 blocks on the deck, I remove 2, I draw another card. So you can chain, you can put a big group in there and draw multiple cards for 1 meeting.
We're going to go here because we're going to liberate this next. I had progressed the morale meter because of that light reinforcement. So it makes me important that I want to liberate this to get that back down. So I'm definitely going to do that. And then easy actions on your turn. You could just use the rest of these dice and build another set of barricades. Come at me, bro.
There you
Come
go.
at me. And blocking off this way because this is going to be my little what do they call that in Seattle? The occupied
autonomous zone.
The autonomous zone. This is my autonomous zone. There's going to be a lot of Bob Marley playing here, and lots of stuff happening. The place to be.
That's right. Keep the cops out. Let the people organize.
We use 4 actions, so we build up 3 barricades, and we went to a meeting. That is Orange's turn. So then the police, unfortunately, they have 2 cards, and I have a feeling that this is going to be movement. I pulled a lot of reinforcements so far, so let's go ahead and move some cops.
Despite our recent draws in this game, most of the cards in this deck do move police squads.
All right, police op number 1. There we go. We have squad movement.
There we go.
All groups of police squads advance into adjacent neighbors' districts. So then that would be, I'm not really sure what the cops heard all the way down here in this gentrifying zone. Usually gentrifying zones are totally fine.
The rich gentrifiers were calling up and saying, I heard there's trouble.
Yeah, I have a neighbor that is calling too loud. Forget that autonomous zone. My neighbor is, he has the TV
so
too loud.
This second move you did here, actually, you should reverse because you see that no sign on the edge of that tile.
Aha!
The cops can't come through there. That's a 3-way. There's a couple 3-way that really kind of build bottlenecks and make the board a little more textured. And so the cops, you're right. You look at every group of cops. You look for adjacent green districts, but then that one's blocked off, so they can't go there.
So they don't move.
Yep.
All right, so then that's it. They just moved that one place because that is the area, but they pulled 2 cards.
Yep.
So they're going to spread out. Squad movement, snatch squads. +1 with police morale. I don't like that.
Ooh.
All groups of police squads advance into adjacent districts with blocks, which there are none.
Yep.
Squads and districts with occupations hold their position. So then they're going to move, but they don't move. It just
Every group looks for it. Says, are there any blocks? Are there any people near me? And they all check and they all say no, so they don't move.
Yeah, we're good.
I want to call out something you did right that a lot of people mess up in their first play, which is when police move, they always leave one buddy behind, even if they're with a van. So yeah, you left one squad there, and that's how they spread out and start blocking up the board. They don't pull out of a district entirely. They always leave somebody behind to hold it. So as the game goes on, these big groups will get smaller and smaller and be easier to attack, but they'll be everywhere, and it'll be harder and harder for you to move around without attacking them.
All right, we're going to get a new condition. So yellow's like, I'll attend the next meeting.
They're too busy to go to the meeting right now.
They're too big. We're out in the field. We don't want your stupid meeting. I used to do some organizing myself, so I would love any excuse at all to get out of meetings.
You know how it goes.
I know how it goes.
Not to spoil too much, but one of our liberation cards involves a choice about either staying on the street or going to the meeting. And the thematic text for going to the meeting says, all right, I'll go to the meeting, but only if there's good snacks, which,
right.
I feel that.
Well, I used to organize in Brooklyn amongst like ethnic groups like Haitian and Jamaican and Puerto Rican. There was always good food. You didn't even have to say it. Like you knew there was going to be good food. The problem was those meetings tend to go like 3 hours. So
that
it's
is
like,
the trade-off, right? If there's good food, people want to stay and hang out and keep talking, so the meetings go long.
Oh, no. So there's the choice. That would have been a thematic card right there. Anyway, okay, so we are going to liberate another area. First of all, we are going to get another recruit.
That's
and
right.
then we are going to spend a die to get another recruit here. So that brings us up to 6. And remember, I have more than 5, so I can roll the 4 dice. And then I'm going to move for 1. And then that was 1 action to recruit, 1 action to move. And then, there's really not much to do besides build more barricades. Is there, if I'm intending to stay here and liberate? So we're just going to put down 2 barricades. This is going to be a liberated shopping center. You can change these. That's an action you can either build or swap. So I'll keep in mind of that. I think that's going to be my area unless they get there first. I know I'm leaving that to hang, but I'm taking a chance. Okay, so then that is basically it. I built 2 barricades. I moved, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wait, that's a 6. That needs 12 to liberate. Ooh. Maybe I want to rewind and not do that meeting.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so that is something I'm going to keep in the recording. Easy to kind of, get into a little bit of a corner where it's like you thought you had something and it turns out you didn't. But I'm going to keep it because next round I'm just going to be able to do that pretty easily because with recruits and all that kind of stuff. So that's not a problem.
In block by block, as in the real world, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build capacity.
And get people on the same page.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so we are ready for the sunrise movement. Come on, cops, I'm ready. I just called it sunrise movement. No, it's not the sunrise movement. It's a sunrise turn, a sunrise phase. So then we know that the next round, we're going to have locked metros again, so keep in mind of that.
Uh-oh.
Highest ID districts. Ooh, here's something I don't know if we mentioned. Liberating something gives it a higher police ID, which means that the cops will get there a little bit faster. All right, well, they'll seek it out more. Vans and are repaired to police attack. Locate the police van station, the lowest ID district. Then locate the district, the highest police ID, just a police ID. Move the van following the shortest path. Okay, so I messed this up a little bit. This is a 13, this is a 12. So then... Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and move that. All right, so police movement is a little bit involved. This is the second take of this police movement, which is why we have the designer on the call. So the first thing that you do is you pre-map out the fastest path. So then,
That's right.
And you basically look for highways. Highways make for a fast path because those spaces don't count for a path. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 are the same technical number of grids, but this one has a highway, so that is the path. And then on that path, you make decisions based on, where, if it has 2 choices to get to a place, that's when you check the police ID, but you map out the path beforehand.
There's a tie in the number of, in the shortest path.
Right. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go 1 because it can't go through here. 2, 3, and then over here, and then bam! Look at that charter bus. It just ran. It ran to the charter bus.
Yep. And the cops all pile out of the van, and they're busy disassembling your barricade. So
that's right.
They're not going to drive the van. They're busy taking stuff apart.
And there is always one cop that shops out at the end. We shall see the workers are out of their meeting and they're ready to rumble. So we're going to see. Check that out. Okay, so that was the reaction card, and now we do liberation, right?
Yep. You've met 2 of the conditions for liberation here at the Global Shipping and Receiving Center, in that there's no cops in the district, and you're adjacent to a liberated district, but you need 6 times 2 blocks, so you're not quite there yet.
Get it together, people. You'll get it together next turn. Sweet. That's right. Okay. So the rest of it is we just do a bunch of checks.
That's right. So you sent some blocks to the meeting, and you're going to check. You're going to say, well, I have 2 blocks on the conditions deck in the meeting, and I only need 1. So you get to draw another card.
Okay. We are going to liberate the financial district. Oh, that is close to my heart as a New Yorker.
Occupy Wall Street, man.
That is Occupy Wall Street. Oh, baby. I love that. So just to show you, financial district is over here, and the police, they left. I am going. Yes. They fell into my traps and decided to fly. So I'm going to try to make my way over here, wreck some stuff at the financial district. Although there's 5 squads there, so that might be a little bit hard. So we'll see what happens. And the financial district is a 6, so that is a hard place to assault. And we haven't demonstrated that, but we will very soon. Okay, so we're going to try to liberate the financial district. So go ahead and finish off that meeting phase, Greg.
Yeah. So then once you've drawn your cards, you would check. You would send the blocks back. So they're prisoner blocks, so any prisoner occupation can take those blocks in, and you as the player get to decide where they go. You have to pick one and send them all there. You can't split them up.
Right. So then they could go either to the store or to the Supermax prison.
That's right.
And they see a rumble starting. So the prisoners are like, okay, here we go.
Good choice. So then the next step of Sunrise is check if you won, which we're still early in the game. You haven't won yet. Mm-hmm. And then the final step again is check police morale, which is at 2 right now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that countdown marker is going to move 2 spaces instead of 1.
Oh.
Yeah, they're coming.
Yeah, so this is 7, and it takes down to 0. Once it gets to 0, then we lose.
That's right. Then the last step is just switch the first faction. So yellow is going to be going first for the 3rd round.
On to round 3. All right, so look what has happened. We have the police on our doorstep, and we have a goal. We have to liberate these 2 areas, and then we're going to win the game. As it is now, I could have pulled other cards, like, liberate the park or liberate the airport. That would be a little bit more inconvenient, and I could keep on pulling objectives, but I like my 2 objectives, so we're just going to roll with it.
Nice.
All right, so first of all, we have first player is back to yellow, and we are going to pull 2, one at a time. Let's go ahead and pull 1 at a time. Paramilitary raids. +1 police morale. Stop it.
Boo.
Stop it. All right. All groups of police squads advance into adjacent district with occupations. So then groups of police squads. This is a police squad. This is not a group.
And Correct.
This is not a
group
either.
It's a solo, so it's not going to move.
Neither of them move. Mm-hmm. So then so nothing really happens there except for the morale boost.
Yep.
I don't like that. Then, district patrols. All groups of police squads advance into adjacent districts with the highest police ID. So then I would just look at all the districts and see what has higher ID.
Yeah, so this card moves every single group.
So that would move over here.
Mm-hmm.
These guys would move up. And remember, we have to keep these solo. Although, you start from the lowest to the highest?
It doesn't matter. They sort of all happen simultaneously. So as you did it correctly, that these cops don't arrive in the Interior Ministry until those cops have left the Interior Ministry.
And why is that?
Just for the timing rules that everything happens. We don't have this like chaining of groups of police. It's just they all move at once.
So that they are going to move that way, and then this group is going to move towards the highest, which is over here. They're all spreading out.
Yep.
Okay, so then they can't move this way, so they are going to move towards the shopping center. And I was hoping to liberate that or like set that on fire or something. Mm-hmm. And then this is not a group, so they're not going to move. So we're just spreading out a little bit. All right, so yellow is going. They really want to liberate, but they notice that orange is occupied, so they're going to need orange's help. So they are going to contribute a little bit of help over there. So first of all, let's go ahead and roll. We still have 4 dice to roll. When we get to 9 cubes, that is when we will roll a fifth one, and that's exactly what yellow is working on.
That's right. And did you form your new block?
Let's form a new block right there.
I only mention that now because the timing matters. You get to form your block before you roll your dice. So if you got to 9 now, you would add another die. Right. I don't think you're there quite yet.
Not yet. Okay. So then, first of all, we are going to recruit another person.
Yeah.
So that puts us at 9. So we are going to roll the 5 next turn.
Awesome.
And the regular people can cross barricades, right?
Correct. Yeah. Your comrades will let you through the barricade. They won't let the cops through.
That's outstanding. All right. So then let's move another one. We're going to move all these people into the Supermax prison. Let's go ahead and liberate that.
Nice.
Oh, we can't liberate it. We cannot liberate it. But
changing tactics on the fly.
We're not going to liberate it because we can't. Actually, this is adjacent.
That's right. Yep.
Aha. There we are. So we'll get to this. It's nicely protected.
Mm-hmm.
So then that was a movement. What we are going to do is we're going to spend 2 and re-erect these barricades. I don't trust these popo. There could be another.
Smart.
There could be another one right there coming along. So we're going to just go ahead and go for that. And the next turn, actually, we might even liberate this one right now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is 12 right now.
Nice.
If I wanted to, I can kind of attack this guy and move back to liberate this, or I could take out the van.
You can't leave once you're in a fight. So if those prisoners, if anyone goes into that district, they'll have to fully clear it if they want to come back.
Oh, and I won't have enough dice to clear it.
I think so.
Point. Oh well.
Well, welcome to Block by Block, making hard choices.
Making hard choices, beautiful. All right, so now we're loaded for bear over here, and let's see what the police ops deck does to us for Orange's turn. All right, so squad movement to public districts. So then this would be to adjacent districts. This isn't like
correct. They're not going to travel. Only the vans do long distance travel. Groups of squads only check adjacency.
The only squad that moves is going to be this giant mass of cops. This murder of cops or flight of cops or whatever we're calling them.
They're stationing in the plaza. They're getting ready.
They're en massing. I don't like them. And then the police op deck is all squad movement into commercial districts. Commercial districts being these areas over here. So the only group that can move into a commercial district is this huge mass of cops.
And the ones in the purple student district.
And also, we would have movement over there. So as you see, they're making a wall.
Mm-hmm.
No entry into the suburbs. No.
Yep, they're keeping those rich people safe.
Keep the rich, nice, moderate people safe and watching the Super Bowl. All right, so we are seeing what we can do. We are very much wanting to go ahead and attack, but I need some 4s. Prisoners attack on 4s because of the 5. So if I don't get 4s, I can't attack. That would be sad. I did not get 4s.
Oh, no.
No, that's no good. So this is why this game is interesting, because you can pivot. It is not a hard thing to pivot in this game. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pivot. All right. So remember, I have 12 here, so I can liberate this. So that is not a poor result of the turn. What we're going to do is we're going to trade this tools card. Yellow has it, but we can freely trade. Comrades in arms, right, Greg?
You can even give, take. You don't have to exchange one for one. The workers could just say, here you go, this is yours.
It's yours, as long as you're in the same spot. Or you have people in the same spot. So that's fine. So we're going to change this, and we are going to make that a shopping center. Okay? Next thing that we're going to do, so that was free. Next thing we're going to do, this is a 6. In order to turn this into something more useful, we need to dedicate dice. So this is really for instructional purposes, but I definitely want to do that. In this edition, you can now combine dice as opposed to just being stuck with what you have. Go ahead and explain why you made that change, Greg.
Yeah, totally. So in playtesting, we had found a lot of times, you can get stuck, especially on harder difficulties where you're in a corner, you need to fight your way out, or you want to build an occupation to lower police morale, but you roll twos. So we said, you know what, this is not going to break the game. You can add dice together in any combination, as many as you want, to get to the numbers you need. You can't save up your overage, like Jason's using a 2 and a 4 to make a 6 here. If he had used a 3 and a 4 to make a 6, he wouldn't get to save that 1 to add to another die. That's not how it works. You spend the whole die even if you make a higher number than you need, but you can combine your dice. Of course, you're sacrificing 2 actions for the price of 1, but in this case, I think it's the right choice. It's going to let you draw some good cards.
And that was in response to a lot of people complaining.
Yes, yeah, a similar vein of complaints to the or not complaints. That's too negative. Player feedback about how drawing police ops cards after your turn means you can't react.
Right.
Similarly, this sort of like, it's a dice powered game. There's still a lot of randomness, but this helps mitigate some of that randomness. It helps let you make hard choices rather than just feeling stuck by your dice.
Exactly. So I wanted to attack. I can't do it, so I can combine some dice and do some things. So then we are going to...
You could even combine those dice to attack, although I think you're making the right strategic choice here because that van is terrifying.
It's very terrifying. I don't like to... I would get in there and I would only be able to attack once. I can't actually take it out. You want to save up so that you can take it out. So then let's go ahead and make that a buff. So that I now have 2 buffs that are adjacent to this shopping zone. Could I pull a loot card if I did not have any graffiti next to the store?
That's a great question. No, you count the number of graffitis. So if you count 0, you would draw 0 cards.
Right. So that's why I wanted to make sure I had 2 graffiti there, and I get to draw 2 loot cards. Anything past 2, what happens?
You discard them, but you're going to get to scan for the cards you want. So here, you're stuck with your top 2 off the deck, which is not a bad outcome at all.
Not a bad outcome at all. What do I got? Groceries. You were mentioning groceries. Counts as 1 extra block when liberating a district. And also a gas mask. Protects 1 block from being defeated by police. That's nice, just in case you bust through right there. So we have some solidarity over there. So that was 3 actions right there. Well, 2 actions. 1 off the card to swap this to a store. I have 1 action combining dice to make this a usable area. That let me draw 2 cards. And I have 2 actions left. We're going to go ahead and build a barricade. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do on the turn, a very defensive turn, but I think this sets up for success later. Going to move this lone person over here. Now that they have set up a shop, they're going to move over here. It's kind of hard for this van to get in there because of this area. So then next turn they can build an occupation and lower morale by building an occupation. Can you lower morale by swapping occupations?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. It has to be a new occupation coming onto the board. Good try though. We're always trying to find ways to lower police morale.
I had to try because we're actually at very close to the end of the morale track, and that's not good either.
Once it gets to 3, it gets rough.
Gets a little bit rough. All right, so let us go ahead and do the Metro lockdown. So the highest ID districts, here they come.
Oh, man.
Vans repair. I think I got this exact card. Locate the police van station in the lowest ID district, and then the district the highest police ID. Move that van. So then we are going to that now. Now it's this van.
That's right.
Or actually, no, it's still this van.
What number is that? I can't see from here.
That's 10.
Oh, yeah.
10. So then it would try to move, and it would break the barrier.
That's right.
If it had 2, it would have just stomped in here.
Yep, and it would have kept going all the way into your liberated district because that's the highest one.
Oh, really? It would have passed right by here?
Yeah, the vans, they don't stop and they don't wreck your stuff aside from barricades along the way. They are rapid response. They want to go to their target and attack it.
Okay. But they wouldn't attack it. They attack first and then move.
Correct, yeah. So you get 1 round to deal with it. The van would show up in the street market, and you would say, okay, we got to deal with that van or it's going to wreck everything there.
Right, and then it deploys a unit. So then I have a little bit more to deal with right there. All right, second of all, to react to that terrible rolling of a turn, we are going to liberate this area right here. Ta-da! Supermax Prison liberated. And we get to read a story. Guerrilla Gardens. Residents are ripping up concrete and have begun to transform a series of parking lots into a sprawling, squatted garden and community gathering space. Yeah, take the power back. So both, each faction must choose, see what's available in this garden supply tent, or join the assembly coordinating the garden. and help build the long-term capacity in this space. Return 1 block in this district to your supply. So then we are going to do the same thing. We'll do 1 faction will choose each one.
Nice.
-1 police morale, very important.
That's right.
The yellow will choose the top. Will comrades running the supply tent to distributing food from the garden, as well as other donated and expropriated goods, draw a loot card. Very nice. And I knew, Greg, that you would, we lose a guy.
That's right.
Orange loses a guy, but the additional support will help the garden expand in more lots and feed even more people. Draw 3 loot cards. Very nice.
Yeah.
So then we're going to go ahead and draw those 3 loot cards. And we drew the important one, Molotov cocktail.
There you go.
Wow, +3. What? Definitely going to attack this turn. Got some tires to build barricades, and I got some groceries to liberate a district. Liberating districts is awesome. We got to lower morale. We got to make this a little bit easier to deal with. You notice that the supermax prison went from 6 to 5. So
right.
things on this space are a little bit easier. So just doing that is just good all around. All right,
So we liberated, and now we'll check meeting attendance. I don't think we had any meetings that turn. Check win conditions. I don't think anyone has won yet.
Nope.
Check police morale and advance the countdown. And you lowered morale for your liberation, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
So the morale is still 2. So I'd go down to 6 to 4. So it's really, I'm really getting down to the wire here.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to play 1 more round just so we can demonstrate attacking the police.
Sounds good.
So, and attacking the van, because I should finally have enough.
Yes.
To go in loaded for bear. 2 police ops cards, 1 district patrols. All groups of police squads advance into adjacent districts with the highest police ID. So then literally 1 guy flies in there.
Yep, it's a group now.
Wow, you have no idea what you did, sir. And that's all of them, right?
Yes,
all
you
the
check
squads
every
move
group,
into,
yep.
Right. Okay, so then this would move there. This would move there. And these guys, oh boy. Too bad the game's going to end before you even see some action, Mr. Clown.
Yeah, they're finally, their long-term strategy is starting to pay off.
Yeah. And then light reinforcements, +1 police morale, all police vans. Put in a squad. So you see the escalating effects of leaving things around too long. So obviously I was kind of hemmed in, and I've made my super autonomous zone, but you see what the effects of that are. There's just all sorts of police all over the place. So it became a very much a stick and move type of situation very, very quickly. All right, and so we are going to go. So the orange is first, and they will not recruit next turn. So they've actually taken a couple of hits in terms of recruits. There's not a lot of people left to do their thing. But we're still going to go there anyway, and we're going to do our best. And they got a 6, and they have some Molotov cocktails to improve those other rolls. So what they are going to do is they are going to they're going to try to take out the van.
Yes.
And they're going to leave the mooks to the workers over here.
So actually, this is a good rules point. We haven't talked about attacks and clashes, but when you're in a clash, is anytime your blocks are in a district with police, and so everyone in that supermax prison right now is in a clash, so they can't take move actions, they can't take basic actions. The only thing you can do when you're in a clash is attack. Because of that one cop ran in there and pinned you down.
Because of that one cop, huh? Because of that one cop. Okay, so then let's just take out the cops then.
There you go.
And we can attack at 5, or we can attack at 4. We're gonna have to use this valuable 6 in order to take out a cop. Are you kidding me, cop?
Oh man.
All right, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna use the 6, and we're going to take out this cop. Right there, and we'll take him out, put him back in the staging area. We don't. This is just non-violent clashes over here.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting thematic point with block by block that we like to clarify. That each cube represents a group of people, right? This isn't one cop. This is a squad, and your blocks are like an affinity group of 4 to 10 people. And so when a block or a cop comes off the board, it's not death. This isn't a war game. People die in insurrections, but this game is trying to be fun and not super, simulate that. So this just means they're demoralized, and, maybe you stole their riot shields and they have to run back to the station and get re-equipped. Similarly with your people, when a block comes off the board, it's not people being killed per se. It's people, being tear gassed and needing to go home and wash out their eyes and not being able to partake in the action until the next day.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, it's nonviolent. It should be nonviolent. Like, I mean, I think the propaganda around this thing is that they're violent.
I mean, there is a sort of space within Block by Block for diversity of tactics. I don't think everyone involved is specifically nonviolent, right? There are Molotov cocktails. There are,
right. Well, nonviolent towards people. Like, yes, property, fine.
Sure.
Which is something that people have a problem with. Oh, all property matters. No, all property does not matter. All right. So then we are going to go ahead and move. We're going to move this cloud of 3. And we can actually demonstrate this way how groups could team up to beat the van.
That's what you're going to have to.
So they are going to go after the van. And they have 2 Molotov cocktails over here. So we're going to buff each of these 3s and make them 4s.
Nice.
So then because the prisoners have the -1 to attack, and because this is a 5, so then -1 4s, I'd be attacking with 4s. I have buffed my dice with 4s. And now I can attack the van. I attack once with this guy. Get over there.
Hit that van.
And then the second attack puts it on its back.
These vans are the coolest component in this game, I think, because of this. They have this 3-stage ability.
And so the third attack will take it out, but we're going to have to leave it to our comrades, the yellow, in order to finally take it out. All right, so we are going to go ahead and demonstrate yellow's turn. So they're going to pull 2 police ops cards. State district movement. All groups of police squads advance into adjacent state districts. And this is really important wording. Greg, go ahead and clarify this. Squads and districts with occupations hold their position.
Yeah, and that's standard text on all the cards. And basically what that means is if a group of cops would move, they don't move if they're with an occupation. So notably, it doesn't say with blocks, right? If 3 cops are in a clash with your blocks, 2 of them will leave because they don't really care about fighting with you. They want to take out your occupations. So sometimes you can be saved by that movement, by the cops pulling back and strategically retreating. But then often, it means they stick to your occupations. They're going to pin down in places you've decided are important until they destroy the occupations.
So remember, they going for these things. These things are just there to run interference. Fortunately, power of the people only goes so far. They're attacking our infrastructure, but it is moving towards state, so then they would not move.
Correct.
They would stay there. It would only go towards the state. If this was a state circle, it would actually back up. All right, so we're gonna do it. We are going to take out the van.
Yes.
Let's go ahead, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we get to roll our 5th dice. So then we have a 6, which is something that we needed, but we definitely rolled poorly otherwise. But because we spent so much time drawing cards, we have a Molotov cocktail that will help us.
There you go.
So we're going to use that Molotov cocktail. We're going to turn that 2 into a 5, and we're going to push that flight of cops back.
The other option for attacks that we didn't talk about because you haven't needed to do it during this setup, but when you attack squads, you can always defeat one, which is what you've been doing. They're totally demoralized. Yes. They leave the board. Or you can push 2. So if you were in that big group in that purple zone, you could push 2 of them into any adjacent district, and they stay on the board. They're still going to try and come back at you next round, but it can help you clear a path. Sometimes you need to get 2 cops out, and it's worth the sacrifice of still having more cops on the board. So every time you attack, you have to make that choice.
Would you need to match the number on the tile?
Yep. Yeah, it's still the exact same input. It's the exact same action. It's just once you take an attack action, you decide, am I going to defeat 1 or push 2?
Excellent. All right. Good to know. So then we are going to defeat this one.
Nice.
And then we are going to, we're going to use the 3 to do that. And then we're going to move everybody.
Party on.
We're going to party on, and then we are going to jump on the bus.
There you go. Smash that van.
That represents 1 attack, and that takes out a police van. It will come back with a heavy reinforcements card, but that is how you take out a police van. Solidarity, using your dice, being strategic, all that good stuff.
And when the cops see a van go down, they get sad, so police morale goes down by 1.
they get a little bit demoralized. They're like, oh, we spent a lot of budget on that. There goes our bonus for this year. They're going to take the money out of our bonuses and buy another van, which will come out.
They're always going to buy another van.
They always buy another. They never give the cops raises. They always just buy more vans and equipment. So then that would continue on. So we're going to use that as the culmination for the playthrough, the taking out of the van. In future turns, I would head towards the financial district. I would continue to liberate things. It would be very difficult because I'd have to liberate all of these consecutive tiles in order to get to the financial district. So it takes a while to play this game. This is not a short game at all. Right. And we also have this looming ticking clock down there that puts a lot of time pressure on you. But I think we gave the peoples a good sense of what Block by Block is all about, didn't we, Greg?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being the hands and running the game. And it's always great to see someone else engaging with Block by Block and having a good time.
All right, so this is the One Stop Co-op Shop. That is our tutorial director's cut playthrough of the 3rd edition. When will Block by Block be live on Kickstarter?
Yeah, so we're going to GameFound for our funding.
GameFound, there you go. That I see you heard the waves about Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
That is not the people's platform or in people's perception.
100%. We pivoted away from Kickstarter. So yeah, we're doing GameFound on February 15th. So coming up very soon, you'll be able to back for Bloc Uprising, the 3rd edition of Block by Block. You'll also be able to back for an upgrade kit if you had a 1st or 2nd edition copy. We're selling a less expensive piece pack that you can use to upgrade your copy to a functional Uprising game. And we're going to release a free print and play. As you can see, it's a pretty component-heavy game. It's not an easy print and play, but if you don't want to spend any dollars aside from printer ink, you can totally do that.
Greg Loring-Albright, thank you very much for joining me on this playthrough.
Thanks for having me.
This is the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Jason reminding you that we will see you at the next stop.